Hi, in this video we are going to see some of the interview question. To start with, the first question is, what is the error type reflected when one of the flows in scatter and gather throws an error? In general, in the scatter and gather we can have more than one route. It will run in a parallel. If any of the route it fails, it will continue and it will try to complete all the routes, but at the end of the route, what is the error, we will get it, right? So if you see, look at this one, after every route execute, if any has failed with an error, then the scatter and gather component throws an error of type mule : composite routing. So this is the answer for this particular question. What is the error type? We will get it mule : composite routing. So you have to remember this composite routing. That's the error, we will get it at the end of scatter and gather if any of the route is failing. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Which is the replacement for message enricher in Mule 4? So in the previous version we will have something called enricher. So how that is getting used in Mule 4? So for example, you have any kind of HTTP request in your flow. In the request you pass the payload which is coming from your source, and after completing the HTTP request you will have a different response. That's a different payload. If you wanted to, because you pass some content that is enriched and that has added more value and the content got changed. Now this is kind of an enriched content. So this content where we are going to store in Mule 4, so we can store those kind of enriched content in the target variable. So what is the replacement for enricher or message enricher in Mule 4? Because Mule 3 we had an enricher, in Mule 4 we can achieve that using target variable. The answer is target variable. I'll move on to the next question. What is virtual private cloud or VPC in CloudHub? So for example, if you have used any trial account, right, in CloudHub, so what will happen when you complete your development and you basically deploy into your CloudHub, and that's get deployed into this particular portion of it. You will have a CloudHub, and there we can have a worker. Okay, so that worker, it is there in a common network which shared by many customer or many users. Okay, so that's kind of a shared one, it's not a private one. Okay, so that is the top part of it. But again, you have an organization where you wanted to deploy some of the integration into your worker. So what are the two options? One, you can deploy into the common, the worker or the shared worker which is available in CloudHub, which is a part, this top part. If you wanted to install some worker here, that is the common shared worker. Okay, that's shared by that network segment, it's shared by many customer or many users. But you want to have your runtime, your Mule runtime or your application, you wanted to store it in a specific network segment which is applicable only for you or only for your organization. Then what we can do is we can have a VPC in your CloudHub environment, which is private cloud network, virtual private cloud network, and it's an isolated network segment in the cloud. So in the cloud itself, right, in the MuleSoft iPaaS environment, which is a CloudHub, where you will have many workers, and that's some cases, some of the workers, the network segment is shared by many customer. Okay, but in your customer, in your organization, you wanted to have a dedicated, you wanted to have some isolated network segment for your customer, or you wanted to install number of application into specific isolated segment so that other cannot be accessed, or whatever you wanted to have, everything you wanted to put in a network segment, and that you wanted to give a control to your external world or your organization. Then what we can do is we can put all our workers into separate network segment which is called virtual private cloud. Anypoint virtual private cloud offering allows you to create a virtual private isolated network segment in the cloud to host your CloudHub workers. For example, whenever we develop application, what we will do, so we will deploy our application into worker, correct? Because when you go to the runtime manager, you select the application or you import the jar and you name it, and finally you will select the worker and it will get deployed into your CloudHub. So when you want to deploy from the runtime manager, where do you want to deploy? So do you want to deploy in a shared worker in the cloud, or you wanted to deploy in a VPC. So VPC is a virtual private cloud network which is available in the Cloud Hub, which is only available for your organization. Okay, so that's why we are saying it's a virtual private cloud network. So for example, you have a group of computer, that is what we call it as network, right? That's what we call it as a computer network. So that computer network you have only specific to your company, only specific to your organization or your customer, right? So then what we can do is we can have VPC, which is virtual private cloud, only for our organization, and we can have our workers installed there, our Mule runtime installed there, so that we can have more secure way of connecting to our organization. For example, if you look at this one, right? So this is our organization on-premise systems where you wanted to connect with this Mule runtime. So the Mule runtime is running in a Cloud Hub, which is there in a virtual private cloud. So for example, I wanted to make a communication between these two, right? Then we have some set of connectivity using which you can connect it. So there are different ways of connecting your virtual private cloud to on-premise application. So how do we connect it? There are three different ways: IPsec, VPN tunneling, and VPC peering, and direct connect. So VPC peering, mainly if you have this particular region in, for example, in AWS Singapore, I have this virtual private cloud, and also my application also in the same region. Then what I can do via VPC peering. Similarly, we have one more option to connect to our on-premise network from the Cloud Hub network. So now in this one, what you have seen, virtual private cloud, it's nothing but it's isolated network segment in the cloud. So in the cloud, you'll have many workers, but you wanted to have a network segment or IP only specific to your organization. So that is called VPC. I'll move on to the next one. So if you look at this diagram, in the top one, right, it's a shared worker for many customers. Okay. So the below one, it's a VPC, which we have seen in the previous slide as well. So now what we are going to see here is what are dedicated load balancers. So what is load balancer? For example, load balancer is kind of an appliance which will receive a request and it will route to different workers. So for example, I have an application running in my Cloud Hub which will give the response of my member data. I have a different channel which is consuming that particular API. So I am getting too many requests to my API. So instead of having one worker serving that request, I wanted to have more than one worker to serve that request. So I will have my worker 1, my worker 2, right? So I have an individual worker nodes. Now I wanted to load balance that request, right? So what I need is, I need a load balancer which will receive a request. Whenever the request is received from external to my load balancer, then the load balancer will send the request to or route my traffic to my Mule application. So if you look at this diagram, public network, when the request comes, you have a dedicated load balancer. So in the load balancer, in the Cloud Hub, there are two types of load balancer. One is shared load balancer, which we call it as SLB, which is common for all customers. For example, you have a shared workers across many customers, then you will take all our requests through shared load balancer. And if you have a VPC, right, if you have a VPC, which is your virtual private cloud for your organization, then you wanted to receive the request through some dedicated load balancer. So we have a service where we can have a load balancer service which is dedicated only for us, because in this case, right, shared load balancer, this load balancer is shared across multiple or many customers. Here dedicated load balancer, it's only for your organization related application. For example, I am receiving a request from internet, then I'll receive it through my dedicated load balancer. Then load balancer will validate the incoming request is proper or not through some mapping, and after that it will allow us to talk to the individual worker node. So this way, whatever the request comes, the dedicated load balancer route the request to the individual nodes. I'll read it again for the definition. Cloud Hub dedicated load balancer are an optional component of any point platform that enables you to route the external HTTP and HTTPS traffic to multiple Mule application deployed to Cloud Hub workers in a VPC. See here, HTTPS traffic. For example, I have a internet, okay, and there when I want to receive any request to my Cloud Hub, then I will suggest that to come via HTTPS protocol. So maybe some other request I wanted to receive it via HTTP. So any kind of those kind of traffic, right? Any HTTP traffic or HTTPS traffic, we can receive it via a dedicated load balancer, and from there we will route it to our individual worker nodes in order to load balance the incoming traffic. I'll move on to the next slide. So this dedicated load balancer, we will in the short form, we will call it as DLB, and this shared load balancer, it is in the short form we will call it as SLB. What are clusters? So we have seen load balancer, right? It's kind of a hardware load balancer. Whenever there is a request, I just wanted to route the request to node 1 or node 2 or my worker 1 or worker 2. So that is what load balancer, right? What are cluster? So cluster also, it's for area availability, similar to load balancer. So here cluster, what is the difference, right? The cluster knows what are the other nodes are available or part of that cluster. For example, I have a cluster where my 3 different mule runtimes are clustered. Then one of the nodes are down, then other 2 aware that another node, the third node is down. And also it shared the configuration and it shared the load. For example, I published the document to my mule runtime. Then I have a VM connector to subscribe it. Then what will happen? Any one of the node which is part of that cluster, it will subscribe it and it will process it. This way it will share the load. So I'll read it again. It supports high availability, and this is kind of we can call it like it's a software clustering. For example, you have a software already running. Within a software you wanted to share the load, right? Then this clustering configuration will be useful in our mule runtime. Cluster is a virtual server composed of multiple nodes, which is mule runtime engines. The nodes in a cluster communicate and share information through a distributed shared memory grid. So all the information, whatever it needs to be shared, right? It's shared in a kind of a distributed memory grid, kind of a cache, and where it stores, and then from there the data is getting replicated across multiple systems. In the cluster configuration, nodes are aware of one another and share common information and synchronizes statuses. So they know which is running, which is not running. And whenever the nodes are up and it join back to the cluster, then they also know the particular cluster is running, so they can share the load or they can pick up the load for processing different integration. I'll move on to the next question. Difference between dollar and dollar. So dollar, if you wanted to take any values for the particular key, right, then you can use dollar, and dollar, it is mainly for indexes. Okay, so for example, index is referenced by dollar, value is referenced by dollar. So if you look at this sample, right, this is a data wave coding where you have a data wave directives and you have output type. And if you see the payload, right, this is a payload where they have a map function. So map, normally it works for array. Okay, so that is why whatever we wanted to operate, right, so that is there in the left side. Your payload is there in the left side, which is array. If you look at this array, it has 3 elements. 0th element is having a name called Joe, first element Arul, and second element is Raj. So in the array, the index starts from 0. And map, so map is going to process this array which is having 3 elements and $, So what we are going to do with this map is going to iterate each element in this particular array. So first it will take Joe, and Joe is the index of 0, right? So it prints 0 here, and for dollar it's a value, right, which is Joe. So that is why if you see here 0 : Joe is coming, and map iterates an element in an array. Okay, so then first element is complete, and then it will take the second element, which is the index 1. So index 1 is Arul, index 2 is Raj. So this way map is picking up each record or iterating each record or each element, and it is printing the value for indexes and also value. So how values are referenced by dollar, index referenced by $, simple. So this is in data wave. So I'll move on to the next one. What is JSON logger? So in most of the project or most of the POC, what we do, if you wanted to have some kind of logging, right, quick logging, then we will add a drag and drop logger. So when we do a logger, right, so if you have many developers and if they are using a logger, then they can form a different format of logging output, right, which will be tough to manage in case of troubleshooting, because each application is writing a different format of logging. Then it will be tough to troubleshoot it and manage it. So there is a JSON logger which we can use it to log it. So what is this JSON logger? It's a logging framework. It's a robust logging framework which outputs a JSON structure based on a predefined JSON schema. So it has a JSON output for your logging. So whenever your application uses the JSON logger connector, then it uses some predefined schema. So what is my location info? What is my flow name? What is the date timestamp? It logs all kind of useful information with the help of this JSON logger. I'll move on to the next one. What is XA transaction? So in the Mule, if you look at our flow, right, some of the processor, we can have a transaction management. So mainly if you have a database, it's a transaction management, we can enable it. And JMS, you can enable the transaction management. So what is this transaction management, right? So for example, whenever I wanted to insert some record to table. So for example, I wanted to insert 10 records to the table. So what I'll do, so in the transaction management, what will happen when it inserts, it starts the transaction, it insert all the transaction, and finally it commits the transaction. So this is kind of, we can call it as a local transaction. So when everything is done, then it commits it. If there is anything fails, if you are handling to or if you are giving an instruction to roll back it, right, in case of failure, then it will roll back all the transaction. Even though I inserted and 5th record it's failing and I have a control or I have a logic to roll back to everything, then all the records will get rolled back. So that is what will happen in a transaction management. So when you have one database or one resource, right, then that's called a local transaction. For example, in our flow, I have a data I'm receiving in a flow which I need to send it to database, and also I need to send it to another database, or I wanted to send it to some JMS queue or topic, right? Then JMS also transaction enabled system. So in this case, we have to use XA transaction. So what is XA transaction? XA transaction is a global transaction that may span multiple resources. Whenever you wanted to insert or handle or manage a transaction management into multiple resources, right, then this XA transactions are coming into picture. So what is a non-XA transaction? When only one resource is involved, either database involved or either JMS involved. So only one resource is involved, then that's called a non-XA transaction. And when more than one transaction based system or transaction based resource involved, then that is called XA transaction. So what will happen is the XA transaction involves a coordinating transaction manager. So basically, if anything needs to be rolled back, it is to be rolled back in a multiple resources. So there will be a coordinator which talks to the transaction manager to understand which system the data is inserted, and there is a reference there, and if you wanted to roll back, it roll backs in all the systems. So that is what will happen through XA transaction. So XA transaction, it is mainly for doing a transaction management for multiple resources. I'll move on to the next question. So it's how many methods can we apply under resources in RAML? So if you look at this sample, right, the /books : right, so this is a resource. Under this resource, get method, put method, post method is there. So the question is how many method can we apply? So is it 1, 2, or is there any number? So if you look at this one, you can add as many method as you like. For example, I can add 2 methods or 1 method, or even I can add all possible HTTP method allowed in RAML. So in this case, right, I have added get, put, post. I didn't add delete because I don't want to give that authority or access via API to delete the books. But under this resource, right, in this level, under the books, we have something called book title, okay, which is another resource. In that resource, I wanted to add few more methods. For example, I have a lot of books. So I have a books called API, I have a books called integration, I have a books called MuleSoft. So in that, I wanted to get some details about the particular book. So I wanted to get the details about the book name called MuleSoft. Then it will be used. If you wanted to update something, put will be used. Similarly, under the book title, you wanted to get some author detail. Then there is a resource endpoint called author. There get is coming. So here what they are saying is you can add as many methods as you like to each resource at any level. For example, books also have get, book title also have get, and author also have get method, right? But however, each HTTP method can only be used once per resource. For example, books is one resource. There you cannot have two get or two put. Okay, so you can have only one method. So that's why you have one get method, one put method, and one post method. Similarly, book title, right? So this is another URI parameter where we are having a resource. In that also we can have one method only. We can have each method can appear for only one times only. You can have n number of method, but only thing is you cannot have same method appear for more than once. I'll move on to the last question. What is the underlying component which used by AnyPoint MQ? So AnyPoint MQ connector which is used for queue based transaction, right? So for example, I have a data which I wanted to publish it to some topic or queue, so that I can have my subscriber receive the data and process the data. So here the question is, what is the underlying component which used by AnyPoint MQ? So AnyPoint MQ for us, right, whenever we implement it, we drag and drop the connector and we configure it and we just push the data to Exchange or queue. But we don't know or we don't care about what is internally or used underlying architecture, right? But what exactly it is using is it uses Amazon's simple queue service, SQS. It's a AWS SQS it's using for a queue management. And when we create the destination, right, when we create a queue or exchange, right, those kind of information needs to be stored somewhere. For that, MuleSoft is storing those kind of information in a Dynamo database. So AnyPoint MQ, what is the underlying architecture? It's using Amazon SQS and Dynamo database for the configurations. To store the configuration, it is using Dynamo database. Thank you. Hi, thank you for watching this video so far. If you like the video, please share it with your friends and also subscribe to this Tech Lightning channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.